Selection from the Message of the Universal House of Justice, Baha'i World Center, Ridvan, 2018. Learning from the Message of the Universal House of Justice, Baha'i World Center, Ridvan, 2018. We greet you in the enduring afterglow of those memorable events that mark the bicentenary of the birth of the Blessed Beauty. The global Baha'i community now in view. Is not the same as when it embarked on the first 6 cycles of the current plan. From the start of the plan up to bicentenary of the birth of Baha'u'llah. It is more conscious than ever before of its mission. Experienced an unprecedented surge in its capacity to bring friends and acquaintances into contact with its community life, to inspire neighborhoods and villages into unified endeavor, to articulate how spiritual truths can be translated into sustained practical action, and above all, to converse not only about the teachings that will build the world anew, but about the one who taught them, Baha'u'llah. Accounts of his life and of his suffering, told in myriad tongues by adults, youth, and children, touched countless hearts. Some showed themselves ready to explore his cause further. And many a receptive soul was moved to an avowal of faith. Others pledged collaboration. One telling indicator of progress. Was the numerous places where it became clear that the faith had emerged from obscurity at the national level. There were government leaders and leaders of thought who stated publicly and sometimes emphasized privately that the world stands in need of Baha'u'llah's vision and that the Baha'is' endeavors are admired and should be expanded. In God Passes By, Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the faith, about the stages that must needs culminate in the establishment of the faith, says, "We can at the same time recognize through the haze of an ever-widening hostility the progress, painful yet persistent, of certain communities within its pale through the stages of obscurity, of proscription, of emancipation, and of recognition, stages that must needs culminate in the course of succeeding centuries, in the establishment of the faith and the founding in the plenitude of its power and authority of the world-embracing Baha'i Commonwealth. Obscurity, proscription, emancipation, recognition, establishment of the faith, the founding in the plenitude of its power and authority, the world-embracing Baha'i Commonwealth. Celebrating 200th birth of Baha'u'llah. Quality achievements of Baha'i community. The bicentenary also gave rise to a seemingly limitless efflorescence of artistic expression, magnificent testimony to the wellspring of love from which it stemmed. Achievements on different levels and spaces. At the national level, artistic space. Special gatherings over the Baha'i community. Government leaders and leaders of thought. Special gatherings were hosted by some from beyond the Baha'i community. The character of the Baha'i community's entire approach to this occasion was confirmation of how much has been learned over more than 2 decades now. The individual believer took initiative. The community arose in collective effort. And the friends channeled their creative energy into the plans prepared by the institutions. A significant anniversary marking the passage of 2 centuries offered a powerful stimulus to the work of building communities for the century to come. Fourth 5-year plan. A significant advance in the process of entry by troops. The number of intensive programs of growth in the world, 5,000. The rate at which this number is rising has been steadily increasing. There are promising signs of how the powers and potentialities of individuals, communities, and institutions are being manifested. The experience of the bicentenary celebration demonstrated that many of their day-to-day interactions with the people around them can be infused with the spirit of teaching. As the work in thousands of villages and neighborhoods gathers momentum, a vibrant community life is taking root in each. There are promising signs of how the powers and potentialities of individuals, communities, and institutions are being manifested. The number of clusters where the system for extending this pattern of activity to more and more locations is becoming well established enabling thereby the friends to pass the third milestone along a continuum of development has grown markedly. 28 December 2010. Within every cluster, the level of cohesion achieved among the core activities must be such that, in their totality, a nascent program for the sustained expansion and consolidation of the faith can be perceived. That is to say, in whatever combination and however small in number, devotional gatherings, children's classes, and junior youth groups are being maintained by those progressing through the sequence of institute courses and committed to the vision of individual and collective transformation they foster. This initial flow of human resources into the field of systematic action marks the first of several milestones in a process of sustainable growth. The moment, which has come to be known as the launching of an intensive program of growth, represents conscious recognition that all the elements necessary to accelerate the expansion and consolidation of the faith are not only in place but also functioning with an adequate degree of effectiveness. It signals the maturation of an ever-expanding, self-sustaining system for the spiritual edification of a population. A steady stream of friends is proceeding through the courses of the Training Institute and engaging in the corresponding activities, which serves in turn to increase the number of fresh recruits into the faith, a significant percentage of whom invariably enters the Institute process, guaranteeing the expansion of the system. This constitutes another milestone that the friends laboring in every cluster must in time reach. The number of clusters where the system for extending this pattern of activity to more and more locations is becoming well established, enabling thereby the friends to pass the third milestone along a continuum of development has grown markedly. And it is here at the frontiers of the Baha'i world's learning, particularly in the movement of populations towards the vision of Baha'u'llah, where not only are large numbers coming into the widening embrace of Baha'i activities, but the friends are now learning how sizable groups come to identify themselves with the community of the Most Great Name. We are seeing the faith's educational efforts take on a more formal character in such places. System for extending. As children move seamlessly through the grades year after year, one level of the junior youth spiritual empowerment program reliably succeeds another. In these places, the Training Institute is learning to ensure that sufficient human resources are being raised up to provide for the spiritual and moral edification of children and junior youth in ever-increasing numbers. Participation in these foundational activities is becoming so embedded in the culture of the population that is viewed as an indispensable aspect of the life of a community. A new vitality emerges within a people taking charge of their own development, and they build immunity to those societal forces that breed passivity. Possibilities for material and spiritual progress take shape. Social reality begins to transform. In many hundreds of clusters, a growing band of believers who can maintain with those around them a sustained focus on nurturing growth and building capacity, and who are distinguished by their ability and their discipline to reflect on action and learn from experience. Raising up and accompanying an expanding nucleus of individuals in each place, not just at the level of the cluster but within neighborhoods and villages, is at once a formidable challenge and a critical need. But where this is occurring, the results speak for themselves. Cluster with intensive programs of growth, propagation in neighborhoods. We are reassured to see that the institutions of the faith are keeping this supreme need at the forefront of their thinking, devising effective mechanisms to enable the insights arising from progress to be widely institutions of the faith plus keeping this supreme need at the forefront of their thinking, devising effective mechanisms enable the insights arising from progress is widely applied. Institutions of the faith. Greater experience is endowing national, regional, and local bodies alike with broader vision. They are becoming involved in all aspects of the community's development and are concerned with the well-being of people beyond its formal membership. Conscious of the profound implications the Institute process holds for the advancement of peoples, they are paying particular attention to how the Training Institute can be strengthened. They remain mindful of the need to maintain the community's focus on the requirements of the plan and call the ever-widening circle of friends to higher and higher levels of unity. They faithfully uphold their responsibility to refine their administrative and financial systems so that the work of expansion and consolidation can be properly supported. In all this, they are ultimately occupied with cultivating in the community those conditions that conduce to the release of powerful spiritual forces. Selected from Ridvan 2010 message of the Universal House of Justice. Once human resources in a cluster are in sufficient abundance and the pattern of growth firmly established, the community's engagement with society can and indeed must increase. At this crucial point in the unfoldment of the plan, when so many clusters are nearing such a stage, it seems appropriate that the Friends everywhere would reflect on the nature of the contributions which their growing, vibrant communities will make to the material and the spiritual progress of society. In this respect, it will prove fruitful to think in terms of two interconnected, mutually reinforcing areas of activity: involvement in social action and participation in the prevalent discourses of society. Selected from Ridvan 2010 message of the Universal House of Justice. Most appropriately conceived in terms of a spectrum, social action can range from fairly informal efforts of limited duration undertaken by individuals or small groups of friends to programs of social and economic development with a high level of complexity and sophistication implemented by Baha'i-inspired organizations. Irrespective for its scope and scale, all social action seeks to apply the teachings and principles of the faith to improve some aspect of the social or economic life of a population. Selected from Ridvan 2010 message of the Universal House of Justice. It will proceed naturally as the Friends in every cluster persevere in applying the provisions of the plan through a process of action, reflection, consultation, and study, and learn as a result. Involvement in the life of society will flourish as the capacity of the community to promote its own growth and to maintain its vitality is gradually raised. It will achieve coherence with efforts to expand and consolidate the community to the extent that it draws on elements of the conceptual framework which governs the current series of global plans, and it will contribute to the movement of populations towards Baha'u'llah's vision of a prosperous and peaceful world civilization to the degree that it employs these elements creatively in new areas of learning. Discourses of society, expansion and consolidation, social action, equal community building. Social action and discourses of society and expansion and consolidation form the three main areas of the activities of the Baha'i community: equal social action, discourses of society, expansion and consolidation. As the work of community building intensifies, the Friends are using the new capacities they have developed to improve conditions in the society around them. Their enthusiasm kindled by their study of the divine teachings. Short-term projects have soared in number. Formal programs have expanded their reach. And there are now more Baha'i-inspired development organizations engaged in education, health, agriculture, and other areas. How can to discern the unmistakable stirrings of the society-building power of the cause of Baha'u'llah? From the resulting transformation visible in the individual and collective lives of peoples. This is another important field of endeavor for the faith that has advanced well. At the national level, contributions to discourses that are meaningful to that society, the equality of men and women, migration and integration, the role of youth in social transformation, and religious coexistence, among others, are being made with growing confidence, proficiency, and insight. And wherever they live, work, or study, believers of all ages and backgrounds are making valued contributions to particular discourses, bringing to the attention of those around them a principled perspective shaped by Baha'u'llah's vast revelation. Faith, standing in various spaces in which discourses unfold, has been much enhanced by its official presence on the World Wide Web, a presence which has expanded considerably through the launch of numerous national Baha'i websites and the further development of the family of sites associated with Baha'i.org. This has immense value for both the propagation and protection of the cause. Over the span of just a few days, a large global audience was attracted to carefully conceived content about the faith that was presented on the bicentenary website and updated in 9 languages simultaneously. As well as this, new volumes of Baha'u'llah's and Abdul Baha's writings rendered into English are set to appear in the coming years. In Santiago, Chile and Battambang, Cambodia, the world's most recently dedicated houses of worship are becoming established centers of attraction, beacons to their societies of all that the faith stands for. And their number is about to grow. Meanwhile, we have every expectation that the recently released statement and compilation about the institution of the Mashruq al-Askar prepared by our research department will further stimulate the friends' appreciation of the significance of worship in community life. For in their acts of service, especially in their regular devotional gatherings, Baha'is everywhere are laying the spiritual foundations of future houses of worship. The 4-year plan, 1-year-old plan, the first 5-year plan, the second 5-year plan, the third 5-year plan, fourth 5-year plan, focused on a common aim, a significant advance in the process of entry by troops. establishing an educational institution in the context of the world and promoting a culture of learning. Increasing the number of educational institutions in the world and promoting the learning culture, more than 300. Strengthening the process of promoting and consolidating to a large scale. Start intensive growth programs, at least 1,500 geographic areas. Increasing the number of geographic ranges in which a growth program at each level of compression goes on to 5,000. Increasing the number of geographical areas with a growth program to 5,000, focused on a common aim, a significant advance in the process of entry by troops. Ridvan 2016. This is the last in a series of consecutive 5-year plans. At this close, a new phase in the evolution of the Divine Plan will open, set to propel the community of Baha'u'llah towards the 3rd century of the Baha'i era. Ridvan 2018. Only 3 years remain of a quarter-century effort that began in 1996, focused on a single goal, a significant advance in the process of entry by troops. At Ridvan 2021, the followers of Baha'u'llah will embark on a plan lasting a single year. Brief but pregnant with portent, this 1-year endeavor will begin a new wave of plans bearing the arc of the cause into the 3rd century of the Baha'i era. Only 3 years remain of a quarter-century effort that began in 1996, focused on a single goal, a significant advance in the process of entry by troops. At Ridvan 2021, the followers of Baha'u'llah will embark on a plan lasting a single year. Brief but pregnant with portent, this 1-year endeavor will begin a new wave of plans bearing the arc of the cause into the 3rd century of the Baha'i era. This month ahead will also be a time for calling to mind the lives of the Bab intrepid followers, heroines and heroes whose faith was expressed in matchless sacrificial acts that will forever adorn the annals of the cause. Their qualities of fearlessness, consecration, and detachment from all save God impress themselves upon everyone who learns of their ventures. How striking, too, is the young age at which so many of those lion hearts made their indelible mark on history. During the coming period, may their example give courage to the entire company of the faithful, not least to the youth, who are once more summoned to the vanguard of a movement aimed at nothing less than the transformation of the world. And the next bicentenary, indeed, throughout the remaining 3 years of the current plan, let the same all-consuming, all-surpassing love that spurred the Bab's disciples to the diffusion of the divine light inspire you to great deeds, that you may be the recipients of the heavenly aid, is our supplication at the sacred treasure.